All right, it's day 28. It's been a long run, this bootcamp, but every single day I just get more real time experience and knowledge, which I have to share into this bootcamp. And today is going to be a bunch of lessons which I've learned over the past week, including AI and checkout. So that's why I want to share everything I'm doing basically over the past week. So day 28 is going to be primarily about just lessons, okay? And these are going to be primarily focusing on one thing, which is increasing your CVR. One thing which you're going to notice over time, especially as a dropshipper, is that we put most of our energy into marketing. But one thing which nobody actually works on is, making a professional landing page, just a brand in general. Everyone tends to focus primarily on marketing, but doesn't work on their branding. And branding is all perception, by the way. You just need a branded box. And by the way, you could look like a brand for the longest time without even a single logo on your boxes. So it's just primarily your Instagram page, your website, your marketing, just a perception of a brand. And yeah, this is one thing which I've noticed a lot of people lack. So let's start off with the website. So oftentimes you see really good creators creating some of the best best content. But then on the other hand, their website is just the typical. And I'll tell you, I don't blame them. The problem is they're just following the average dropshipper. So if you were to put someone as an example, so this person is dropshipping and is sharing his journey and he sells courses, for example. People who are watching him, they're gonna create similar stores to him. But the problem is, most of the times these people are going for pump and dump. And as of November of 2025, the most successful stores I can proudly talk about and show you as well are branded organic dropshipping stores. Or now they've transitioned to paid ads, but they've started with organic and they went for the route of branding. So that's why you need to focus on your website, on your branding, and that's where AI takes place. So I'll tell you my personal experience. My winning product, when I first entered this game, this market of my winner, I've had some joints as competitors, and they've been running for 3+ years to the point where they have professional editors, or Photoshop editors. And these people, I had no chance, honestly. I've still obviously worked my hardest and I made sure that my marketing, my branding is on point to have a chance against them. But looking back at it, now with what I've achieved in terms of progress with my brand, my store, website, and even marketing, I was nowhere near competing. So one of the things which made me far ahead now is AI. And I've shared this into more details on my AI bootcamp. You could check it out. It's going to be primarily done through AI Studio. Free and very powerful. Highly recommend. This is what I use for most of my images, and I highly recommend you do so as well, because nowadays there's not much ROI of going out there and doing professional photo shoots, let alone paying others to create the content for you, or to Photoshop them for you. You don't need any of that. You could just use this tool right here at the cost of time. That's the problem. So I've noticed that one of the primary barriers of entry is time, because when I first started, my standard was low. You know what I mean? When you start something new, so a new AI comes out, at the start your standard is going to be low because your expectations are low. So what happened is, here's the low standard and low expectations, aka I'm just gonna experience. There we go. Low experience means low expectations, so low standards. So what happens is, whatever you generate is gonna seem like a wow factor, okay? And this is a problem. So when I first started using this AI, I would generate a bunch of photos, here are images, and I would be surprised and excited about it. I put them on my store. Trust me, a lot of them did not work, but I'll tell you one thing. So a bunch of previous AIs which I've used had literally zero ROI. So I'd spend hours working on AI with other tools, not AI Studio, other tools, and they would literally do nothing for my CVR. However, for this, I have to say, AI Studio, on average, every single thing I have put time into, in terms of image generation, had a high CVR conversion, or like high ROI. So, despite me saying this, the very first images I've created with this tool were nothing compared to now. So, you need to be patient and you need to set your standards high. So, preferably find some competitors who are really good and which clearly has some AI, or even low key, but you know it. So, this way you could set your standards high and just create good images. How do you do that though? You do that by feeding the AI with good content, good reference. So preferably, instead of putting in the stock image of your supplier of the product and saying like place it on this, no, take a picture of your product, like high quality picture, and then plug it into AI Studio and say the same prompt. That way you're gonna have a higher quality picture. So that's one of the lessons I've learned about it. And two, obviously keep on trying. Don't just stop on the first attempt and be satisfied with it. No, there's literally no limit with AI. So that was quickly about AI. And honestly, this has some of the highest ROI in terms of everything, because it just makes you look like a brand without leaving your room, literally, and without spending a penny. So really important. Second lesson is actually the checkout. The checkout page is one of the most neglected pages, and this coming even from personal experience, from what I've seen as well. I think only the top stores have prioritized the checkout page. I see this pattern. How can you improve your checkout page? Few things. One, you need to have a better banner. So don't just have a simple logo, which is a text, and that's it. No. It really depends on your product, obviously, but for the most part, like a plain white background with just a simple text will not do it. You need a professional banner, which you can create with AI. Okay. And one trick you could do is actually, since we don't have many tools to play with in the checkout, we cannot just convince them to purchase, right? We would expect them that they've been already convinced throughout the page and then they're going to check out to pay. So how can you convince them further? By playing with a banner. So adding maybe some reviews. Okay, so X reviews. And just a professional logo, professional sort of like banner that will make it look like some trustworthy brand to pay to. And secondly is the color. Don't go for the default one. I would recommend you pick one primary color. Okay. One primary. Look at all of the brands. They all have one primary color. I'm gonna call it primary brand color. And this is gonna be your identity. Okay. You need to include this on the checkout page, because if they've seen this throughout your website and then they've reached the checkout, it needs to match and it needs to make sense. So that's the second point. Thirdly is something which not many people talk about, and it's not easy to do, but shipping. There's a few ways where you could actually add this little question mark in, like next to it. What happens when you click on this is it pulls up your shipping information. And I've noticed that not many people have this. I'm gonna be totally honest, because I have promised to make this as transparent as possible. I myself am still trying to figure why or how to add this. I've done my research. Apparently I need Shopify, like not the Grow. I have the Grow. No, I need the better one. That's what I've heard. Totally not sure. Okay, I'm still researching about this, but if you know this, let me know. That would mean a lot, but this is for the sake of transparency. I'm literally showing you what I believe is the best, and I'm actually looking for this myself because this is so helpful. Like imagine customers reaching checkout, they're not sure about when they're gonna receive it. They click on this little question mark and then it pulls up a table for every single country, right? And then the days. So here 7 days, here 5 days. You know what I mean? So this would help a lot. One thing which I do know though is the rates. So try to not be the average pump and dump guy. Break down your market, okay, and create shipping. I might have to create like an entire video on this, but shipping regions. So you could break down one market into multiple shipping regions, for example, EU, US, Asia, and so on. So why is this important? Because you could provide a more personalized sort of shipping rate. So here for US, you could ask, by the way, I would highly recommend before you do this, ask your supplier what's their shipping or logistic partners who ship to certain countries. Whatever it was, doesn't need to be something fancy. As long as they give you something, you could add it here because this will make it look way more personalized, trustworthy, and just overall better. So let's say here is USPS. That's way better than saying just free shipping. You know what I mean? This is so important and nobody seems to talk about. So you go to checkout, you see just free shipping, standard shipping, versus someone who says USPS express shipping, tracking included. So who are you gonna trust more? Of course the USPS. For that reason, and by the way, most likely they're gonna know what USPS is because it's like a localized sort of logistics. So that's about the shipping. Really important. Let's see, is there anything really important which I've missed? These are all lessons over the past week which I would like to share today. So the banner, the primary color I've done a long time ago, but I had to share here. The shipping rates. Let's see. I don't want to talk about offers again, but I have to mention it. Offers is one of the things which is gonna just skyrocket your CVR. If you have low CVR, work on your offer. Okay? And I want to mention one thing. Localized currency. So most people will not have to deal with this, but if you are one of those guys who don't have Shopify payment in your region, you're gonna need this video. And I'm gonna briefly talk about this because I have another video about it, but localized currency is really important. And a few ways to fix it is literally try to find alternatives which do accept localized currencies. So personally here, we have a lot of local payment processors which accepts it. Or if you're using Stripe, very low key, nobody knows about this, it's called, let me quickly remember, it's called EasyPi. Yes, EasyPi. I keep switching or mixing up between Pancake or something Pancake and EasyPi. EasyPi is integrated with Stripe, provides you with local currency. It costs like $500. Not sponsored, but I've done my research and this is some of the best solutions. Again, nobody knows about this. So I'll keep this here in case you're suffering with this problem. Finally, don't be afraid to double down on the marketing, on the branding. So it took me a bit longer than it should for the boxes, but this is one of the most important things. Try to brand them as soon as possible. If you are going for this route, which is branded dropshipping, especially organic, there's a little things you could do to actually stand out. Personally, I would say I've done a good job to make it look like a brand for this long until like 3 months ago, or I've been like in the work of making the boxes. So took me a while, I know, but better than being late. Q4, I'm stocked with boxes, so we're good. But this is really important. Make sure that, by the way, it's very cheap. I thought at first it's going to be very expensive. You could invest as low as $150. When I knew this, I was like, how come I didn't do this like from the start? I thought it's going to cost me like 1K plus. So yeah, I guess that's a limiting factor we have, or limiting belief, but we got it out of the way. If you have $100 profit, invest it back into boxes. That's my advice. Just do whatever it is that you could to look like a brand. And again, it doesn't need to be the boxes. You could do it first with the marketing. So personally, the reason it took me a while to do it with the boxes is because I've invested everywhere. I've invested in my store, so my website, my marketing. I've got way better equipment. I've got way more samples and so on. So yeah, always reinvest. So this was a very quick video of my top lessons over the past week. And trust me, this is after like 3 years of me dropshipping. So we're always learning, and I'm sharing everything I know so that you guys are well prepared as well in this bootcamp. So see you on the next day. Peace out.